All right, Pete, what's up, my friend?
How you doing? Good
I'm
to be
doing
here.
good. It's great to be here, man. Your list of accomplishments, I tried to memorize them, but unfortunately, I'm too old to do that anymore. Why don't you tell everybody here some of the great things you've accomplished?
Well, I fish all the local team events here in Southern California, as well as a lot of the pro stuff here on the West Coast. I've been fortunate enough to win 38 times. It's pretty hard work to win these tournaments. There's a lot of really good hammers on all of our circuits, so I take pride in that. First place 38 times, that's cool. I have 12 Angler of the Year titles. Those are the ones I kind of hold dear to me because it doesn't mean you were the best for the day, it means you were the best for the year, pretty much. So I hold those close to my heart and try to stay humble and keep digging.
Pete, I mean, I know my son Philip, he's in some bass tournaments and they're trying to win, and it's not easy, man. You got a lot of top guns out there.
Absolutely.
How important is a competitive nature? Were you competitive as a kid?
Yeah, I grew up racing motocross, so I've been competitive. I'm the guy that if we're at the airport together, I'll bet you whose luggage is going to come down first. I mean, I'm just super uber competitive. So you know, when my motocross racing was kind of drawn to a close and I didn't feel like I was going to make it on the pro level, I found out that there was actually bass tournaments, and I told my buddy, I'm like, hey, because we grew up fishing too, of course, but I told my buddy, I'm going to buy a boat and I'm going to win every tournament I enter. And he's like, I think his exact words were, "You're an idiot," right? And I went out,
and that motivated you even more, right?
Oh yeah. I'm like, oh, you're calling me out. Okay, let's do this. So I went and bought a boat. My buddy was on vacation in Hawaii in 1998, and I called him. I tracked him down in Hawaii, and I told him, hey, I bought a boat. We're going to join the American Bass Tournament this coming Saturday. I got all these details, and we went out there and promptly got our tails kicked in. We got our teeth kicked in for the first 4 months. I don't even think we caught a bass for the first 4 months. We started when, I think it was like November. We fished November, December, January, and February. We had 0 fish to show for it. And I'm like, well, I better rethink this, or I better start doing my homework. And I buckled down, and it became my passion. And since then, you know, we've stood on the top step. You know, I've been able to stand on the top step for 38 times. So.
Pete, so many great life lessons here. Number one, when people tell you can't do it, you don't hang your head down and say, yeah, you're right, I quit, do you?
That's right. I use it as motivation. I mean, I grew up lower middle class, didn't really have fishing rods when I was growing up, just borrowed them from friends and kind of just got into it, and my passion just grew over the years. When I raced motorcycles, I never had really the new bike. I was always kind of behind the 8 ball as far as that goes, and it's probably a big reason why I didn't hit the next level. But with fishing, though, I mean, kids nowadays, they can start fishing. All they need is a rod and reel. There's a lot of park lakes and big lakes around here in Southern California, and you could hone your skills, and this is where I did it.
I love the Horatio Alger story where you come from meager means and then you climb up the ladder. That's beautiful stuff, man. I mean, it takes a competitive nature and it takes a belief in yourself, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You know, there's going to be a time in everyone's life where nobody believes in you. You have to believe in yourself, and if you don't believe in yourself, then you're not going to make it. You have to have that fire. You have to have that passion, whatever it is, whether you're into fishing or bowling or baseball or whatever. You just got to go with it and just believe that, you know, you're going to get better. And there's an old saying that I heard Denzel Washington say one time, and it's, if you hang out at the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut.
Yeah, for sure, right?
And you know, I've been at that barbershop for a long time, so I mean, it was inevitable. And once I won the first time, it became easier. And then after I won a couple times, and after I won a couple Angler of the Years, it's now my standard. Okay, I start every year wanting to win every tournament I enter, and Angler of the Year is the number one thing on my mind every year. I'm super, super competitive. I take it serious. I do the point standings before the point standings come out. I know where I'm going into the next tournament. That's a big joke amongst my fellow competitors and the tournament directors is, going into the last tournament this year, I knew that I had to finish 5th or better or a sixth or better to win the title, and they try to fool me like I wasn't going to win, but I'm like, nope, I know exactly where I need to be. So yeah, it's awesome.
So Pete, take us through some of the preparation. I mean, it's not about just showing up and catching fish. There's a lot of preparing that you do.
Absolutely, yeah. No, for me, I take it extremely serious. It's not just on the water practicing. It's trying to figure out where they were last year. I take a ton of notes every year, and pre-fish starts well before the actual tournament begins. So we got the U.S. Open coming up here in October, the One Bass U.S. Open. I started preparing for it already in June. And what I do to prepare, I start to get my body in a better shape. You got to, like at the U.S. Open, for instance, it's a 3-day marathon plus practice. So you got to be able to be in good physical conditioning. People think, oh no, you're going fishing, all you do is drink beer and you cast. No, it's not easy. I mean, you got to be able to withstand the elements. Okay, super warm out at Lake Mojave. It's going to be hot this year at Lake Mojave. We got to be able to stay in shape to go 8 to 10 hours a day, and you, as well as your body and your mind has to be in shape. Okay, you got to train your mind.
And those go together, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You got to be able to withstand all the dock talk and all your bad days on the lake, and you just got to buckle down and just stay focused.
What do you mean dock talk? What are you talking about?
Well, you can come in, and it happens a lot where, and I used to pay attention to the dock talk.
Right.
That's one of the toughest things to overcome, but one of the easiest traps to fall into.
Yeah.
You hear the dock talk, you hear the other anglers at the end of practice. You come off the lake and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even get a bite. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing at this event. And then you hear people talking, oh, I'm getting 30 bites a day, catching big weight, and you're like, that could spin you out really quick.
Right.
And even with local tournaments, you hear during the week, oh, so-and-so's on them. And I'm like, okay, we'll see on Sunday. We'll see when weigh-ins come, who's on them and who's not. And more times than not, the guys that are flapping their jaws during the week or in the weeks prior are the guys that struggle the day of the tournament. So it's just something I've had to learn over time. And, it's a lot of mental preparedness for sure.
Yeah, one of the most important things you can do as a bass fisherman, what is it? Besides being well prepared, yeah. What's next?
Well, number one, you just got to prepare. You got to prepare, you got to stay focused, you got to be able to adapt to the conditions, because if we come out on a day and 10 days before at the lake, it was dead calm and you got something dialed in, and it never fails. Come the day of the tournament, it's blowing 40,
yeah.
And now we're all in the same boat. One thing I do during the year, I'm out there when I go practice. I practice all year long, and people say, "Well, how's that practice?" On the rainiest days, on the coldest days of the year, you'll see my boat at the lake. I'll often walk up to the parking lot at the end of the day, and there's no there's no trucks in the parking lot, but my truck, because on the days where it's blistery, on the days where it's cold, my Piston Bones Nitro will be in the water, and I'll be getting ready for those days in tournaments where you can't go home. And you can go home and you can quit. You can tuck your tail between your legs and you go home, or you go running for shelter. I don't. I stay in it, and it's because I practice in it. This past year I was out, and there was a little club tournament going on, like 10 boats, and there was me. And they're like, why are you out here? I'm like, because I have a whole tournament series coming up, and on the days where it's ugly, I'm not going in. Okay, and those are the days I live for. I love the blistery weather. I love the rain. I love the cold. It can't get cold enough for me. The wind doesn't blow hard enough because I'm used to it. And so I conditioned myself, conditioned my mind, and it all comes together come tournament day when it's like that.
I can see why you're a tough competitor, man, because you seek out those adverse conditions to hone your skills, and that makes you dangerous, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I truly believe that. When I was first coming up, there's a couple guys in the industry that I kind of like to pattern myself after. Dave Noller, he's a famous Southern California pro. He's a really good pro. He doesn't fish as much as he used to because he's getting up there and he has ailments. But I always told myself I wanted to be just like that guy. He was just like a statue out there during the coldest days of the winter, when you're only getting 2 or 3 or 4 bites. If you can get 5 bites, you could win, and you're literally standing there and it's 27 degrees and it's pouring rain or sleet. The guy was just always there. Every single tournament he showed up, and I always said, I'm gonna be just like that guy. And because I practiced like that, because I kept that in my mind, and like I said, my passion for this whole bass fishing thing, it burns through my veins. I'm thinking about my tournament series, and it's not even on the schedule yet. So I want to repeat, okay? I just won the 2022 Angler of the Year at Lake Paris, and we were the defending champs, and I wanted to three-peat this year. I'm already thinking about it, so I take it very serious.
People who listen to my podcast know how many times I've seen Top Gun Maverick. I've seen it way too many times. I'm crazy about that movie. It reminds me of a scene in there, because I've got every scene memorized now, okay? My wife thinks I'm absolutely nuts. She's right, by the way. But there's a part where he says, he's talking about being a naval aviator, and he says, it's not what I do, it's who I am. And that sounds like you.
Yeah, no, I eat, sleep, dream bass fishing. It's one of my last thoughts when I go to bed, and one of my first thoughts when I wake up. You know, during this summer, I've taken it off, right? Okay, I haven't fished any night tournaments. I'm not really into the night tournament thing anymore. So I kind of take about a month and a half off from tournament fishing. It helps recharge my batteries, okay? It's a long year. I mean, when I get done with a tournament, whether it's a Pro-Am where I'm fishing for $150,000 at the US Open, or a small team tournament on Paris or Diamond Valley, when I'm done at the end of the day, I'm done for probably 2 days, because I'm just mentally spent, not so much physically, but my mind is just wide open, 120 miles per hour the whole time. And when I finally weigh my fish, it's just like a relief, because my mind hasn't stopped, you know, for weeks before that. So, for sure.
Pete, a moment ago, you were so lovely to pay homage to your mentor and role model. Is it important for you to be a role model to kids? Because it strikes me as you're a very good role model.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I want to be the adult that I needed when I was a kid.
Right.
I kind of get emotional when I think about it.
Go ahead.
But so that's how I pattern myself. Okay, so that's one reason I guide. When I first got into guiding, I've been guiding for about 14 years now. I love to see the smiles on the faces. I'm often the guy that's even the most excited in the boat when my clients catch fish, and I've heard it 1,000 times over the years. Pete, you get just as excited as us when we catch it. And I'm like, heck yeah, I'm all about it, because there's a lot of worse things kids and people in general could be into than bass fishing. Bass fishing at the core is where it's at, and it's a wholesome, great way. I mean, yeah, it's cutthroat. Like me, Todd Woods, and some other guys here, we fish tournaments, and we're extremely intense, and we want to kick each other's tails every time.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we all share the love of chasing these green fish, and it's just, you know, it's awesome, and it's good to pass that down to my clients, to kids, anybody that'll listen, pretty much.
My admiration is growing for you every second of this interview. Without getting into it, it sounds like you had maybe a challenging childhood, and some people would let that drag them down.
Yeah.
You've used it to say, you know what, I'm going to try to change the trajectory of kids' lives by being a positive influence.
For sure. I mean, I don't have a lot of other things. You know, the funny thing is, I don't have a lot of patience with certain things in life.
Yeah.
Except for fishing.
Uh-huh.
And when my close friends, they often tell me, I can't believe that you show kids how to fish. I have my patience just goes through the roof. And it's just, that's how I knew. Because where I didn't have a lot of patience with things, and I grew up super competitive, and when I found fishing, when I found guiding, it was my way to give back, and things just came natural. I have no idea why things came natural, but I just have the most confidence and the most patience with fishing, so it allows me to pass down what I know to people. And a lot of guys tell me, a lot of competitors over the years, and everybody tells me, they've always told me, I don't know how you guide and fish tournaments. Aren't you afraid that all your clients are going to come kick your tail? And I'm like, man, if they want to come kick my butt, come do it.
Bring it on, right?
Yeah, I've been guiding for 14 years, and I am the reigning Angler of the Year for Lake Paris. there's more to it than just a day out on the lake, but I have guys that I've been guiding for several years now that are also tournament competitors now, and I think it's awesome. I think the exact opposite of what people say, oh, isn't gonna hurt you. No, I don't think it'll ever hurt me. Could it hurt me one day in a tournament where they'll win? Yeah, I mean, technically, financially speaking, they might get a win and I might get second, but you know what? What I gain from that in my heart, how good I feel about that at the end of the day, that somebody that I taught is now kicking my butt in a tournament, they just beat me in a tournament, it's pretty awesome. And there's something to be said about having allies on the water. If I'm not on them or if they're not on them, we could talk and have a network, and it's pretty awesome when you can do that. And it's the best feeling.
Fantastic. So if people want to join you and for a guided trip, man, after this, I'm going to sign up right away. What's the best way to get in contact? How can they sign up?
You can follow me on Instagram at Pete Marino Fishing. I also have my table right there with a bunch of pictures. I got cards. Come on up. I'll give you a card afterwards. But you could find me on Instagram at Pete Marino Fishing, and on Facebook at Pete Marino Fishing on Facebook. You can go to my website. It's PeteMarinoGuideservice.com. And, anytime anybody wants, and I always have an open door policy with all my clients. Don't call me at midnight, but I get people. I'm one of my buddies, for instance. He's an Ontario PD. He fished the Police and Fire Olympics. He called me. He's like, hey, I haven't been out in a little while with you, but I'm like, I don't care. You've been out before. You're one of my allies. I dig it. And I gave him some info, and he went out and won the gold medal at the Police and Fire Olympics. It's pretty awesome. But I always want my clients to call me. I want to hear the success stories. I get pictures on my phone on the daily basis of kids catching fish and their parents sending me the photos. It's pretty rewarding in that regard, for sure.
Fantastic. All right, how about some applause for Pete?